This episode of Rookie Hunter is proudly brought to you by the Wild Sheep Foundation. Become a member, renew your membership, and join the Less Than One Club at wildsheepfoundation.org. And make sure you check out Sheep Fever, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Do your part to put and keep wild sheep on the mountain. Hey guys, welcome to episode 148. Two things. I have a cold, so I apologize for the way I sound, a little raspy, and I'm not using my usual microphone, my dear microphone that's been with me for many years. It's set up for another project. But anyways, appreciate all the feedback we've been getting on the last few episodes. So it has been interesting coming back after our hiatus. And I just want to say again that all of the ratings and reviews that you guys have been leaving certainly help us out. If you like the show and you know somebody who might also enjoy it, please share it with them. And keep spreading the love. We really appreciate it. We read all of the comments that you guys leave, be it as a written review or a message that you send to us or comments that you leave on our posts. I want to keep all those conversations going because we enjoy it. And that's the whole point of this, is to connect all of us and talk about what's going on. So I'm just going to get right into this episode. So sit back, relax, crack an ice cold beer, and enjoy episode 148. All right, man. So I told you guys last week that despite my best efforts to make it to Reno this year, work got in the way. And I've been watching the Instagram feed, and man, it's been absolute torture to see how exciting it's been down there. Gray put out a post last night on Instagram that simply said, 1 million final bid for Marco Polo Society member 100, the final available. The Marco Polo Society was capped at 100 people, and I think the minimum to get in was 100,000 donation, and I think it could be spread out over like a 5 or 10 year period. I should double check that. Point being that $1 million just went to the conservation of wild sheep. It's seeing all of the things that were happening in Reno, and especially a post like that makes you really proud to be a member of the Wild Sheep Foundation, and for us to be a partner with them as a sponsor of Rookie Hunter, and to be a part of the hunting community. So this is when, it's hard when you see so much backlash against the hunting community, because I don't think that the average person knows that someone would donate $1 million, one person, to the Wild Sheep Foundation. So again, man, if someone hunts or not, I'm always very proud to tell them that I am a lifetime member of the Wild Sheep Foundation. I'm very proud to tell them about the work that the Wild Sheep Foundation does. And I hope that you guys, if you haven't already, will become a member. And it's something that we say over and over again because they are our title sponsor. But please consider it. I guarantee that you'll feel the same sense of pride when it comes to being in the sheep family. The sheep family is something that you hear often once you are involved in the sheep community. And it very much is a family of people who are doing great things and looking out for each other. And all I could say is that I'm just super proud to be representing them and to be involved with them. I know Kelly and Garrett both feel the exact same way. So amazing work, everybody at the Wild Sheep Foundation. Congrats on a very successful weekend in Reno. Appreciate the work that you guys do. So today I'm doing another topic episode, a solo one. And I got some good feedback from you guys on the one I did a couple weeks back. And so I'm just glad to be doing another one. Really enjoy this process. As you've heard me say many times now, it's really great for me. So I love this and want you guys to keep them coming. Before we do that, going back to last week's episode, we were talking about how we can be better representatives of the hunting community and how we can go about handling, influential people, posting things that are designed and written in a way that very much villainizes the hunting community and the diminishes the work we do. I just talked about the Wild Sheep Foundation. Nobody's really mentioning that in the non-hunting community. And anyways, so that's why we're just really urging everybody to think about what they say in a public setting, what they do when in public, when hunting, and to just really, really be a good representative of something that we all share and love, and something that we all have in common, and want to be there for the next generations and the ones to follow. So again, no bad feedback on that. I was kind of worried about it just because I kind of, I poked fun at the guy that posted it, had some fun with it. But again, it was all just meant to be and good fun and a way to laugh rather than to get outraged about something. It's better to laugh and talk about it. So thanks to everybody that responded. But let's get into some questions and the topic for this week. This first one comes from Sean Fontaine 4 on Instagram. First time hunting elk, only finding 1 to 2 day old poop and tracks. Move to a new area? ? I would say that you're in the perfect spot. If you're finding a sign that is that fresh, then I think you just need to spend a bit more time in that area. Experiment with some calling, see if you can get some responses. We are by no means experts when it comes to elk hunting. We've had luck on our side, but Kelly and I had some really great experiences at the beginning of this season, and Garrett and Kelly and myself had some pretty cool experiences the year previous. So if you're seeing sign, that's great. I mean, if it's a year old, probably move to a new spot, but I think you're exactly where you want to be, and you might just want to set up camp somewhere in that area, spend a good 3, 4, 5 days if you can, and see what happens. I think eventually you're gonna find these elk. They do move around, but eventually I think you're gonna run into them. I might have mentioned this before. I've had the privilege of working with Ben O'Brien and Sam Lundgren. Both of those guys were previously with Meat Eater, and together they put together a podcast called Wallow for elk hunters. And there is a lot of great tips in there. Some of it obviously is specific to hunting in the lower 48. So pick and choose. There's some good episodes that you can definitely apply some of the information on there. There's a really great episode on calling. So have a look at that. There's 2 seasons out there now. Hopefully they're going to do a 3rd season. But again, that's Wallow for elk hunters. That's Ben O'Brien and Sam Lundgren, 2 really great guys, and proud to have worked on that show with them. I got 2 questions from Dave Campbell. Dave Campbell 12. Planning any northern BC hunts this year? Man, so as it often goes, we've had a lot of ideas, and one idea leads to the next, which leads to the next. And we started thinking about going north again for an epic sheep adventure. But slowly that idea started getting closer and closer to home. So yet to determine what we're going to do. We thought maybe a blacktail hunt would be cool. We're also now thinking that using the horses is a possibility. Maybe doing an alpine mule deer hunt somewhere closer to home. So obviously a little easier for everybody to pull off. Garrett and Kelly both have kids, and Garrett's got the farm, and it's just it's tricky for everybody to get away, especially when it's that far. That's a huge commitment. So we're actually thinking of doing something a little bit closer to home, but who knows what's going to happen. We could change our minds tomorrow, but that's the plan as of now. We actually had a long conversation about that before we started recording last week's episode. So be interesting to see what we land on, and interesting to see how Garrett does with the horses this spring as he continues to train them. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Pretty excited though to I don't know. I feel like we're getting closer to narrowing in on something. Dave's next question was going to Penticton Sheep Convention. Yes, that's the plan. I think Kelly and I are going to be there the Thursday and Friday, probably coming back on the Saturday, but very much looking forward to it. Garrett is still trying to figure out his work schedule and all that so he can get up here. But yes, we are going to be there, very much looking forward to the Salute to Conservation and Mountain Hunting Expo. It's going to be a whole new event by the sounds of it. And I think we're going to do some podcasting. They've got a booth set up somewhere on the floor, so that'll be kind of fun. So yeah, if you guys are there, let us know. Definitely come and say hi if you see us hanging around there. But really looking forward to it, especially the whiskey and cigar night, which is the Thursday. That was a little added inspiration to get down there for the event. So yeah, hope to see you guys there, and we're really looking forward to it. That's coming up quick. Okay, so I'm really enjoying you guys sending me topics to research and discuss. And as I mentioned, these are a bit of work to put together, but that's what I like about it. It's this whole learning process, which is, I've said it many times at this point now, it's the reason why I really want to get back into this and learn about some of the things that are happening here in the province of British Columbia, and also things that are happening globally, be it North America or Europe or Asia. All very fascinating stuff to me, and it seems like there's a lot going on. I mean, that's the case all the time, but another BC-based topic here. I mean, I would love to branch out. There's another one that I'm thinking about tackling. It's a US-based one, so that might be my next one. I'm not going to say just yet until I actually do it. But anyways, this suggestion came from Cody Wilson, and it's Parks Canada, Sidney Island Fallow Deer Eradication Project is what we're discussing here. So let's just get right into it. I had seen headlines popping up related to this, and I kept meaning to look into it. I found it interesting, and I know that blacktail deer have been in the spotlight. They're a very successful breeder, I guess would be the best way to put it, and their numbers can quickly expand. But in this case, we're talking about a non-native species that was brought over from Europe. So for those that you don't know, let's first start by talking about Sidney Island. I took this information from sydneyisland.com, and it says Sidney Island is at the southern end of the Gulf Islands between Vancouver Island and mainland British Columbia. It is about 19 kilometers north of Victoria, 6 kilometers southeast of Sydney, and Sydney is a town, not the island, so it's kind of confusing, on the Saanich Peninsula, and 10 kilometers from Roche Harbor on U.S. San Juan Island. Unique in British Columbia, perhaps the world, Sidney Island offers the rare combination of ownership of superb waterfront property with a model of sustainable forestry, limited development of common areas, precious conservation zones, and miles of sand beaches. It is blessed with a Mediterranean-like climate, warm summers, mild winters, and less than 30 inches of annual rainfall. Not only is it one of the most picturesque, but is the last major undeveloped island in the Gulf Islands chain. From every part of the island, there are breathtaking views. To the south, the perennial snow-covered Olympic Range. To the east, the perfect cone of Mount Baker and the jagged peaks of the Cascades. Obviously, it's absolutely stunning, and it's on Vancouver Island. If you haven't traveled there, you must go to Vancouver Island. And if you have been, you can picture this all very perfectly. Sidney Island is, I think it's about 8.6 kilometers square. So anyways, this should give you a pretty good picture of the landscape. So I was trying to find good information about the European fallow deer, and when I searched it, a link came up for the BC SPCA's website. And so by going here, I was able to learn the following, and this is taken directly from there. European fallow deer were first introduced to James Island in the early 1900s for hunting purposes. Further introductions occurred on Sidney Island. I'm going to jump in here for a second and say that I read that they actually swam over to Sidney Island from James Island. That wasn't stated in here, but anyways, thought that was important to mention. Occurred on Sidney Island in the mid 1900s, and fallow deer were considered established in the 1980s. Since then, fallow deer have degraded the island's coastal Douglas fir ecosystem. The coastal Douglas fir ecosystem is one of the most biodiverse and endangered in Canada. On Sidney Island, the ecosystem is under threat. Fallow deer compete with native black-tailed deer for resources and impact biodiversity by overbrowsing native plants. Fallow deer have also had significant cultural impacts. The ecological damage to the forest understory and diminished biological diversity has impacted the availability of foods and medicines for Indigenous people. So the thing that I found interesting was that the BC SPCA generally has pretty strong views when it comes to topics such as this one. So I was actually pretty surprised to learn that they are involved in overseeing the project. I would take that as a good sign. So with that bit of information that I just read, my opinion, removing this non-native species seems to be something that definitely needs to be done in order to recover a sensitive and important ecosystem. However, things get a little more complicated as they often do. It's worth noting that only 20% of the island is parkland and is known as the Gulf Islands National Park Reserve, and the remaining 80% is owned by a strata group. Most of the fallow deer are within the privately owned 80% of the island, which certainly adds some complexity to the call and obviously required community involvement. Earlier last year in 2023, residents approved Parks Canada's plan for deer eradication in a narrow 52% vote. From what I understand, most of the residents agreed that removing or minimizing fallow deer numbers was necessary, but the methods used for the proposed eradication raised a lot of unanswered questions for them. Prior to the Parks Canada eradication proposal, organized hunts were in place and had been successfully reducing fallow deer numbers. One article stated that the current fallow deer population is estimated to be somewhere around 300 animals or less. Estimated, let's make that clear. The locals claim sustained management hunting on Sidney Island over the past decade has successfully thinned the population of fallow deer to fewer than 300, as I just mentioned. A lot of residents argue that organized hunts were a better method for the problem and a more humane way to approach it. When I visited the Parks Canada website, I found some conflicting information. From their FAQ section, they stated that on Sidney Island, culling has taken place over the course of 17 hunting seasons since 1981. Despite removing almost 15,000 deer over 4 decades of hunting and culling, their population continually rebounds, providing only short-term population reduction. So I should note, another article I read stated that there were somewhere between 300 and 900 animals, but no formal counts by scientists have ever been done. So I don't know what to do with that information. It kind of muddies the water. But if the estimate of the remaining population of 300 to 900 remaining animals is correct, I'd say that they've made some progress. However, given that this has been ongoing since 1981, I do understand the urgency to have these deer completely eradicated to preserve the fragile ecosystem on the island. So here are the methods that Park Canada is using and the results of their first efforts, which were conducted between December 1st and 11th of 2023, so just last month here. 3 certified marksmen from the US and New Zealand were hired to conduct nighttime ground-based hunting and 5 days of daytime aerial hunting with the use of a helicopter. The price tag for this 11 days of work came in at $834,000. The total for the multi-year eradication project comes in at about $5.9 million. It was reported that 84 deer were killed during their efforts in December. However, 18 deer were identified as native black-tailed deer, and 3 were not confirmed as either black-tailed deer or fallow deer. I'm not really sure what to make of those 3, but that's what it says. Restricted semi-automatic rifles using a .223 caliber bullet and equipped with a suppressor and a 30-round magazine were used for aerial shooting. First Nations were involved to remove the meat and hides from the animals, which could be used and consumed in their local communities. 1,800 pounds of meat were harvested from the animals. So there you go. My initial thoughts come back to the price of this. The other thing that jumped out is hiring contractors from outside of Canada to perform the eradication. I feel like there are capable Canadians that could take on the job, and it's always good to put money back into our local economy. And the fact that 18 deer were native blacktail species, and then the additional 3 that were unconfirmed as being neither blacktail or fallow deer is kind of concerning for me. In the original proposal that I read, it did state that some black-tailed deer would be harvested in the process, but I don't know if they were, accounting for potential error, if they wanted to remove some of the blacktail just to reduce the overall number of deer on the island. I don't really know, so I need to learn more about that. If any of you guys know the answer to that question, please let me know. Between October 15th and November 15th of this previous hunting season, which was a shortened hunting season on Sidney Island, private hunters harvested 50 fallow deer. So I'm curious why the season was shortened and why they wouldn't extend it and promote this in an effort to assist in habitat conservation. It seems to me resident hunters with those numbers are definitely up to the task and could potentially have better results and less costs associated with the removal of fallow deer. I do have a few ideas that could certainly just be wishful thinking. I, for one, would love the opportunity to harvest a fallow deer on Sidney Island, and I would be happy to pay for this opportunity, knowing that the meat would be consumed either by myself or local First Nations, and for the simple fact that I would be helping a sensitive ecosystem recover from a non-native species that has caused a lot of damage on the island. Another step that you could take, and everything's easier said than done, but if people were paying for this opportunity, that money could certainly go back into conservation of the island, for example. And I think there would be a lot of people, myself included, again, that would be happy to put funds into this, knowing that it was going back in to conservation on Sidney Island, rather than draining a shitload of money to have the deer eradicated. Perhaps we could find a way to bring some money back in and help the island recover. I'll take it one step further. I love the opportunity to hunt fallow deer alongside local First Nations. For me, that's something I've always wanted to do anywhere in Canada. I worked on this travel show and had the wonderful opportunity to speak to First Nations people all over Canada, in the far north, in the Okanagan here, absolutely everywhere. And for me to be able to learn more about their culture and their ceremonial processes, their approach to hunting, to learn more about the land and the plant species, especially the ones that they rely on that are at risk on the island, and to observe how all of the non-edible portions are utilized. I think that would be an absolutely incredible experience. Obviously, that would take both parties to be in favor of doing something like that. But I just think that would be absolutely amazing. Again, could be wishful thinking, but a great potential for a learning experience. And I know for me, that's something I would carry with me for the rest of my life. I'm sure it would change the way I hunt, the way I harvest, animals and the way I think about the land around me. So just a thought. There are obviously a lot of skilled hunters in British Columbia, and we have some pretty amazing technology at our fingertips. As we all know, drones are obviously illegal for hunting purposes. But if eradication is the goal, I wonder if we could implement some of these technologies and make them accessible for the hunting of fallow deer on Sidney Island so that resident hunters could easily locate and identify the species. I think this would obviously be a huge advantage. And again, only because eradication is the goal with this. I don't want to see drones introduced into regular hunting. That is the opposite of fair chase. But I mean, if helicopters are being used, multiple drones surveying the island, finding out where they are, identifying them as the species that is being targeted, and allowing hunters to go in there and find them with a bit more ease could be something worth considering. So those are just ideas, and as with all complicated issues, there's a lot of conflicting information, especially in the media, which is fueled by emotions and personal opinions. And for residents that are in favor of it, and those who are against Parks Canada's eradication project, so it's really hard to come to a solid conclusion. It feels like a topic and a project that I definitely need to continue researching and following as it progresses in the years to come here. I'm sure a lot more news around this topic is going to keep coming out. So I'm thinking, the way for me and you guys as the listeners to learn more about it would probably be for me to have a rep from Parks Canada come on the show, talk to some of the local First Nations, and even a resident. I actually know somebody who lives there, and I saw her in the news and quoted in a number of these articles. So I would be very interested to chat with some of these people, get all sides of the story, and come to a better conclusion. Because like I said, it's really hard to read this stuff and not be influenced by what you're reading. So I want to shoot right down the center on this one. Even though I shared a few ideas and opinions, those could evolve, and my ideas could be stomped into the dirt very quickly. So lots to think about. I want to know your guys' thoughts. As you know, our email address is info@theRookieHunter.com, and Instagram, rookie_hunter_podcast is our handle. Both of those things are in the show notes. If you want to hit those links, I'll take you straight to us. So there you go. If I got anything wrong, please let me know, and I will correct anything that was said here. And like I said, I will continue to research it. So please keep sending me things to look into. I really, really enjoy this. I feel like I'm just learning so much. It's making me think more about my role here as a resident hunter, and how I can use the platform that we have with this podcast to inform everybody, and for us to do a better job of informing the non-hunting public is really what the goals are here. So anyways, it's another short episode. These ones are going to be shorter than usual, but it seems like you guys are digging it. So let's leave it at that. Cheers. There you have it. Episode 148. Please do consider becoming a member of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Renew your membership and become a member of the Less Than One Club. We're still proudly hanging out there in the Less Than One Club, so join us and add another great podcast to your list. Sheep Fever is the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Lots of amazing guests and topics. So please do check it out. All of that information is in our show notes. But again, wildsheepfoundation.org. We'll see you guys next week.